Hello, welcome to the demonstration of data migration application. Today's use case is data migration from MS SQL Server on-premise to Azure Synapse Warehouse using Azure Blob as the staging area. So this is the login screen at the URL uArrow.cloud. So we enter our already existing username and password here. New users can sign up via this sign up now link and create their own account. So we log in now. This is the home screen of the data migration application where we start with creation of our jobs. To begin creating our DM pipeline, we first need to create connections. So for our use case today of data migration from MS SQL Server to Synapse, we need 3 connections: MS SQL Server connection as the source, Azure Storage connection as the staging area, and Azure Synapse as the target warehouse. So let's go to this connection icon. This will take us to the home screen of all the connections that we have present. And as you can see in the blue circle, it shows the existing number of connections already present for the given database. So for example, we already have a connection. We have already created a connection for Snowflake, similarly for Redshift. And if we come down, we have the cloud storage options, and then we have our file upload options, and then we have our big data options. So to create our source first, we'll click on this MS SQL Server icon. Sorry. Since we already have our MS SQL, we have already created it earlier. I'll just show you the existing connection. You just go on edit. So this is how you need to enter all your details. You need to give a name to your SQL Server connection. You need to enter your host name, your port name, the user, schema, and the database, along with the password with which the application, the data migration application, should connect to your SQL Server database. Once we have entered all our details, we'll click on the validate option to see whether the application is able to connect to the SQL Server or not. If the connection is successful, you'll get a success status here. If the connection fails, then you'll get a failure option here. Once we get the success connection, we are ready to save it, and then we'll use it further for our as source for our data migration. Similarly, for the staging area, we come to the storage blob, and as you see, we already have created a connection before. So I'll just click on this. We go to the edit option. This is how you need to create your Azure storage. You need to give a connection name, your container name, the associated SAS token, and the connection string, and then click on the validate option like before. If the connection is successful, go ahead and save it, and this Azure blob is ready to be used as the staging area. Now coming for the target warehouse, we are going to select Synapse, and we again going to click on the existing Synapse option. We'll click on edit, and it's very similar to what we saw in MS SQL Server connection creation. You need to give your connection name, host, port, user, schema, database, and password. Click on validate to see if the connection is successful. Since it is successful, we'll go ahead and save it and use this as our target warehouse. So the first step of data migration job creation is done. Now that the connections are created, we'll go ahead with creating the data migration job. So we click on the data migration icon here. We come to the home page of data migration application, and to create a new application, we click on the plus button here. And this is the first step of creating or configuring our data migration job. So I give a name here, which is let's say MS SQL Server to Synapse and then I write via Azure blog. So this is basically going to be my data migration job name. In the description, I'll describe migrating tables from MS SQL Server to Azure Synapse. So this is my description. Now coming to the mapping creation option, if you have an existing CSV file in which your table names are already mentioned, then you can select on this option to upload the file. But if you want the system to by default read all the tables present in the MS SQL connection server, then we can select this using system option. Now coming to the source connection, the MS SQL server connection that we created, we're going to select that. Coming to the store stage connection, we are going to select Azure Blob as our staging area. Now we need to mention the path that will hold all the data files from the MS SQL Server data migration in the Azure storing area. So I'll just mention it as uArrow migration demo. If it is an already existing path, as you saw, it will come down in the drop down. If it is a new path, then we get this create option. We can select this create option, and this is the path where all our data files will be stored. So we go ahead and save our first screen and then move to the next screen to see a list of tables. So here we can see a list of all the tables that are present in the provided schema of the database. So whatever this required column basically says whether these tables we would like to migrate or not. If we do not want to migrate any particular table, we can just deselect that option, that table. The create table basically tells whether we would like to create tables, or if we deselect, then the system assumes that the table is already present in the target database. Clean load means nothing but truncate and load. Capture bad rows means capturing all the failed records. And follow target schema is applicable only when the create table option is disabled, which basically means that the target schema of the target table will be followed. But for this demo purpose, we will click on the create options because we do not have the tables already existing in the Azure Synapse. So we come down, we go to the second option, we see one more table is there. So as we see, there are 13 tables to be migrated here total. This last option that we have is the source filter option, where we can mention our SQL statements that will be used to filter before selecting the data from the corresponding source tables. So the SQL statement, the SQL filter statements have to be entered here in string format. So for this demo purpose, we are not using any filter option, and we're just selecting on creation of all the tables, and we'll just go ahead and click apply so that this is saved. Now we go to the third screen and the final screen. So this is the staging area where we are going to So the target stage connection is required where we do not have create permissions in the target connections. But if we have create connections in the target connection as well, then we can give the same target connection in the staging as well as the target connection area. This connection is also used to create a bad rows table where the failed or the bad records are captured in a different table. So we'll just go ahead and use the same Azure Synapse Target Warehouse. For this demo purpose, we are going to take just one target connection, but depending on the number of target connections that we give, different number of target connection drop-down menus, text box will come where we need to mention the different Synapse target connection names. So because we only have one Synapse Target Warehouse as of now, we are going to select one and enter the connection name, Synapse connection name here, and then go ahead and save this. Once we save our job, we see that we are redirected to the home screen of data migration application, and we can see our job here. This is the creation time, the last updated time, the person who created this job, the edit option, the job JSON in a JSON format where we can see the data configuration, the job configuration, sorry. And then we have this run option, which will enable us to ad hoc run our job. So since we have already created our job, the job configuration is done. We are going to instantiate our job by clicking on this run option. So once our job starts executing, we are migrated to the job log option, which we can go here also and see. You see our job is running. This is the corresponding run ID. Let's go ahead and click on this. It brings us back to the same screen. This is basically the data migration screen where our source, our target, the corresponding job details are all mentioned here. This is the refresh button. Coming to the data migration detail option, we see the list of tables that are currently under progress in running status. This is the total number of rows. This is the failed rows. Since the migration has just begun, they are both 0. So we see that all the 13 tables have been successfully migrated. We come to the data migration lineage option where we see the mapping from source to target. So the orders table in MS SQL Server has been migrated to orders table in Synapse. So coming back to the job log screen, we see that our job has been successful and all the tables have been migrated. So you can also see the time difference that 13 tables took to be migrated from MS SQL Server to Azure Synapse. And that's it. That's the end of our data migration application. Hope you all liked it. Do let us know in case of any queries.